Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and I am like beyond excited for this podcast. This is all of my worlds combining into one in such a beautiful, magical way. The guest that I have on today actually is a throwback to my Midwestern days. So I met Dr. Hunter Bennett at Midwestern when he was a pre-dentist in the SIM clinic of good old Midwestern University in Arizona. That school is better known as the Harvard of the West. And Hunter was a dental student there. And then he went on for endo residency at the University of Nebraska Medical Center in 2017. Following his residency, he returned to Arizona and practiced in the mountain town of Prescott for 2 years. In 2019, he moved his family across the country, all the way over to Florida. He is married to his beautiful wife, Lacey. They have 5 kids from 12 to 7 months old, 12 years old to 7 months old. Hunter is busy. And the reason I wanted Hunter on is because, yes, I love a good throwback to Midwestern. Like, it is truly the highlight of highlights. But Hunter has gone through being an associate, being an owner, selling to a DSO. And I wanted him to come on and give perspectives of all of those, because I think so many dentists are questioning, what's my path? What's in front of me? And Hunter is kind of like, I feel like you're the buffet of dentistry. So like, which one was actually best for you? And I'm really excited for that. So Hunter, welcome. I'm so proud of who you are. I'm like Mama Bear Heart over here, just so proud of you. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Oh, this is so good. I'm so excited. I love the buffet of dentistry. That's like maybe the nicest name anybody's ever given me. I love it.
Hey,
It's so
you're
good.
welcome. You're welcome. And how fun is this? As we were like prepping, I told you, I was like, Hunter, it's just like you and me, sim back in sim clinic. Like, we're over there, like you're prepping your like class ones, class twos. I still remember you walking up with loops, gloves on. You knew I'd smack you with a ruler. Like, not really smack, guys. I was nice in that. But if those gloves did not come up at sim, like, take those off. Kiera, come on. Do I really have to? Yeah, gross. I'm training you. Do not have cross contamination. So welcome back to sim. It's so good to see you
I
again.
I haven't forgotten that. I change my gloves just literally all the time, all the time. So we appreciate it. It's
Good.
funny. It's funny how this has come full circle, though. Truly, I mean, like, and you haven't changed. Like, you're still the same person, just awesome, and you were just always that bright personality that brightened the lab. So, and it's cool just to see how far you've come. I'm really proud of you. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's serendipitous, because the whole reason I built the company was for students like yourself. I think the love, like I feel like emotions coming on and I don't want to cry. Like, I genuinely just love the Midwestern students so much. And I like just so proud of you guys. I watched your journeys. I mean, shoot, how long has it been since we graduated? Like, I left Midwestern in like 2015, 2016 realm.
That's where I was. I think you got hired like when we got there. I think that was
I
your
did.
first year. Was my first year in the sim, and then I think you left with us too. So
I think I
yeah,
did.
we kind of went to dental. We basically went to dental school together,
We
essentially.
did.
So
And helping you
yeah,
guys learn
you're basically a
x-rays.
classmate. Yeah,
Honestly, Dr.
100%.
Smith and Dr. Morrow did tell me, they're like, Care, if you ever want to come to dental school, we don't even care. I shouldn't like confess this on like to the world. They didn't say
Yeah,
all these
they won't
words,
care.
but it
They
basically
won't care.
was like, hey, we don't care what your DAT scores are. Like, we'll accept you
Just
no
kidding.
matter what. I'm like, I'll be that student. But then I decided I just love helping dentists. I love helping you guys. I love being that teammate to you, like I was able to be in sim. I love seeing you succeed. I love being that support, that person that's there, like when you're having those bad practicals or you need to chat shop or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's just real fun. And again, like Mama Bear, proud of where you are and what you've done. Hunter and I ran into each other at the Dentist Money Summit together. And that was a throwback. You, Jeremy Mahoney, it was like Midwestern crew was back together, and just
You
a
don't
fun
even you don't realize how huge our little side conversations were to me. And I texted you a little bit about this, but like we don't have to get into all of that, but like just those few conversations literally changed my life. And I'm not exaggerating.
time.
I'm not exaggerating. So we can talk about that later, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
that'll be
so
good.
appreciate you and some of your insights, and watching your journey, and your presentation was just so off the charts. Like everything about it was so good. Your stage presence, the delivery, the message. I still can remember a lot of the stuff you said. So
Thank you.
yeah, good job.
Thank
I'm
you.
not surprised. I'm not surprised you are where you are. And like I said, it's been fun to watch, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to connect again. So, but yeah, you literally was life changing for me. I'm not exaggerating.
Well, that makes me really happy. And thank you. And we'll say that that's the dessert of the dentistry buffet here. So we'll save that conversation for our dessert.
Sure.
But I think what you just said is what Dental Team's purpose is. Like, my purpose is life is my passion, dentistry is my platform. And so I feel so blessed and lucky that dentistry brought all of us together, and but able to help you have your dream life, to be able to give conversations about that. Like, at the end of the day, if businesses aren't serving our lives, then what are we doing? And I'm really
100%.
getting sticky on that. I'm really starting to hunker down on that harder, because I think it's
Yep.
so easy to obsess about the profit, the numbers, like what route should I go? But at the end of the day, if it's not serving the bigger purpose of our life, of our family, of who we want to be, I really think it's a good time to question that and to ask, to make sure the star we're headed towards is truly the North Star that we actually want to achieve. So I'm really grateful. And yeah, I'm just excited for you to share with our audience of Hunter Bennett going through associateship, residency, ownership, DSO, and then cherry on top of side conversation that we had. And just know that all conversations, I think it's a good testament. They're genuine. Like, I just want you guys to succeed in whatever path that looks like. And if I can be a guide in any of that, rock on. That's what I'm here for. So just like I used to give you teeth, help you like learn to take your gloves off, I'm here to like help you make life choices and better practice decisions too.
Absolutely.
Okay, take it away.
You're,
Walk
you're,
me
you're
through.
crushing it.
Walk
Well,
me through
so
pros, cons. Let's hear
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Pros and cons. So I think, before diving into that decision, I think it's really important. Like a big part of my journey was I've just learned so much along the way that my first job was in a place where in Prescott, like that's where I wanted to, like, I was like, okay, I'm going to be in this town until I die. Like, I'm so happy here. And I was in an amazing practice. Like, it was such a good practice. And the guy that I replaced, Nate Dusnup, my coming there sort of sparked his leaving, because that he had been trying to get in that practice as an owner for quite a while. He'd been there 7 years. And so my coming sparked a lot of those conversations, and they didn't really come to an agreement per se. And so Nate went and bought a practice in Florida, and I kind of found that out along the way, and I showed up, and then me and Nate became friends. But I knew within probably the first 2 months, I wasn't going to stay at this practice like long term. It was very clear to me that there wasn't going to be a pathway to partnership. I was a business major. I always planned on owning a practice. But this was a really good opportunity. I'm really, really grateful for just that chance that I had. But I knew immediately, like, I wasn't seen as a partner, which is very, like, I wasn't. I was just an associate, and I felt like I just had way more to offer. I was probably as much of a gung ho person as you can be coming out of residency, as far as trying to be an owner. But I was willing to, like, sort of sweat my way in if that's what it took, just to be where I wanted to live. So long story short, like, I learned pretty quickly that wasn't going to happen. So started just taking a bunch of CE, traveling, and then became good friends with Nate. Nate's like, hey, just come check out Florida, and so yeah, I went out there, and if I've ever had a prayer answered as clearly as that was it. I mean, it was clear as day. That's where my family was supposed to be. I actually served a mission for my church in Florida. I never planned to go back.
No way. Same
And
place?
that's Tampa. So actually, yeah, it was inside my
Yeah,
mission, but I live in Naples, and so didn't
I know
spend a ton of time
Naples.
in Naples. But yeah.
I
So,
consulted
anyways,
practice in Naples. It's a beautiful place. It's a
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
awesome.
It's an awesome place, and coming here was definitely not like what I envisioned, but the practice was, and the partnership was, and we experienced, just like when I got here, he had bought the practice, and the old owner was staying on like 50% of the time, and Nate was just grinding, and expanded the office. He had already done a lot of the footwork to get us to 7 ops, and we grew so fast. Like, we tried to find associates. Like, within my first 6 months, I didn't even bought in yet. We were already interviewing for associates, and we couldn't find anybody that we just really wanted to extend offers to. But yet we were just like in the chair all day. And I'm sure you hear this all the time. Like, I'm sure you get this all the time, Kiera. It's like just grinding and grinding. And then, like, you get done, and then you're dealing with, assistants and days off, and they want to raise, and just drama. Taxes, workers'
Yeah.
comp. I mean, you name it, like all the things that come after work that are so stressful, and having a young family, and then just like responsibilities outside of work. Like, for us, like, there's a lot of stuff going on at church, at home. I was coaching my kids. So again, I think a lot of people that are listening can relate to this lifestyle. And I think as I prepped for this conversation, we had a couple options. One option was to bring in a consultant, which we had thought about. And we already, because we both came from the same practice in Arizona that had used a consultant, we felt like we already
Yeah.
knew how to be efficient. We already had a ton of systems in place. I think we struggled a little bit culturally. And I think, frankly, and this isn't you didn't put me up to this, but like, had we hired someone like you, like, honestly, we may not have gone the DSO route, frankly, like,
Sure.
because all the things we were struggling with, I think could have been dealt with in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw the DSO route as an option, and I mean, we went back and forth, like, that's all we would talk about. We'd get done and then we'd talk about it for like an hour, and then we'd go in cycles and circles, and this is the pro, this is the con. And ultimately we landed on, this is just a really good way to sort of bring some balance in our lives. And I'll be honest with you, I hated like the first 6 months. The transition period for us was particularly hard. We have
Mm-hmm.
a very unique practice. But I'm in it almost 4 years now. And I will say, like, I feel like it all happened for a reason. And it's really allowed me a ton of flexibility in my life. And my lifestyle has improved a ton. So,
Yeah.
kind of what you described as sort of your purpose and letting people kind of see, like, what is your North Star? Like, what is your real purpose? Um, I don't think that would have been, I don't think I would have been able to discover that had I continued on the path that I was on, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So a DSO, I think, is good. First of all, when you talk about like a DSO, it's like a swear word, right? Because there's so many types of DSOs, and there are some bad players out there for sure. And so, like, deservedly so, there's a lot of companies that should have a bad name, but there's also some really good ones. And that
Mm-hmm.
was one thing. Like, we interviewed around and we met with a lot of different groups and talked to people from different groups. And I think there's a lot of good groups out there. But I'm actually quite happy with our group overall. And it's been
Mm-hmm.
4 years. And I will say, like, a lot of the turmoil I felt in that first 6 months was just the change. The
Yeah.
change in trajectory, like giving up. I want, like, I still run my practice. The thing is, like, no one knows that I'm in a DSO. Besides, like, people know, like, my referring doctors know, but like, they don't care because nothing
Right.
changes. Like, nothing. I run it the way I want to run it, and that's very unique to my group. I would say we hire, we fire, we make days off. Like, we do pretty much anything we want. We bought,
Mm-hmm.
we can get equipment. So I feel like my day to day really hasn't changed, and I know that's not true for every DSO. I think DSOs can be compared to like restaurants, for example. It's like, oh, don't
Totally.
go out to eat because that's not healthy. It's like, well, I mean, generally speaking, probably true, but there are some healthy options out there.
Right.
And that's kind of how I see DSOs, is like, I do think there are some healthy options out there, and it totally depends on personality. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I will say, like, the pros for me so far, and you can ask me like
Oh,
maybe
I'm
some
gonna
more
ask some
specifics, but
questions. I'm
yeah,
like
yeah.
front
So
and behind. I've got a decent amount. I'm
so
excited for it.
yeah, like, that's just the general story. But I will say, like, this far in, like, that's kind of the general gist of my experience. And if I could do it all over again, I probably would. I, I will say though, like, I am very curious to see what it would have been like to have hired, like, to bring you in and just say, like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, come in here. And a couple of my assistants were like, don't bring the consultant, don't hire a consultant. And I don't think that really influenced me as much as I felt like, honestly, I just felt like I didn't need one. But looking back now, I think that definitely would have been a really good option. So I think
Sure.
you either go the DSO route or you bring someone in. But again, I talk to dentists. I work with a bunch of different dentists. I talk to a bunch of guys all the time, every day. And they haven't had such good experiences with consultants either. So I'm sure you get the
Totally.
same thing,
I do.
But
That's one of my first questions when I walk into an office. Tell me what you think about consultants. And it's a
yeah,
rip. And I want them
yeah,
to, because
totally.
why not? Like, let's get it on the table. And I think the difference with us consulting versus others, because consultants are going to be, there's good and bad, just like there are of DSOs, just like there are of marketing, just like there is of people. I think the difference is, one, like, I'm a team member first. So like my job is to help dentists, and I'm a business owner and a multi-million-dollar business owner second. And so when you combine those two perspectives together, I very much understand the business side of it. And it's not just theories and ideas, it's true, like, hard knocks, hundreds and
Yeah.
thousands of offices and team members of what are the processes. But second, like, I don't hire MBA students. I don't hire people that are just like, they want to be a consultant. I hire people that have a passion for it. They've been in the front and the back office. So I think teams, that's why I actually named it Dental A Team. I want it to be dentists and teams, because so many consulting companies either focus on the dentist or they focus on the team, but not both. And I'm like, but you have to
Hmm.
get both on the same page. And teams are freaked out by consultants. Consultants come in and fire. Consultants are stressful. Consultants are rigid. They make you do it this way. And my thoughts are, no. One, it's you with your vision. 2, it's what do the numbers tell us and the profitability. And 3, based on those 2 pieces, what are the systems that we need to improve based on like the problems in the practice too. And when you go about it that way, and my job is to make life easier, not harder. I think when you go about it that way, teams are not as scared. And that's also why we built the podcast. So teams could hear us. They could learn like, what do we talk about? Because I think a lot of it's just the unknown. And so that's going to be like my 2 cents for a consultant, but I'm going to like back up for you, Hunter, I have questions for you. I have question marks all the way around. One, I think actually excellent point on the associateship, and doctors listening. Hunter, you said you were a very equipped, very eager associate. You have a degree in business. I mean, you've got like the little gold star around you of a prime, like an associate prime for partnership, that I think so many doctors are afraid and they don't know how to build partners in, that they actually miss a lot of golden opportunities. And so that was one of the nuggets I picked up from your story of like, I don't know who the doctor was, and I'm not here to judge. They have their own story, their own reasons. But I think when doctors have great associates like yourself, you're destined to, like, I know you're going to own a practice. When you come in with that type of acumen behind you, you're going to own a business. So either I can be smart and snag you and partner in with you and have you help me build and create it, or I can let you go and you're either going to become my competitor or you're going to go somewhere else. And so there's no right or wrong. But I think so many owner doctors, I do see this, they're afraid bringing on a partner. You do like take home less pay, like with air quotes, you get paid up front, but your like day in, day out is less. But I really wanted to highlight that because I think like while it all worked out perfectly for you, Hunter, I think doctors listening to this could definitely learn from that. And it's okay if you don't want a partner. Some people are adamant of no partners. They don't want to give any of that up. They don't want to give away the control. That's okay. Don't hire someone like Hunter, like, or be okay that he's going to probably leave you in about 1 to 2 years. And like, any
I think
thoughts
everybody
around that?
goes through that. Yeah,
They
no,
do.
100. Like I have a ton of thoughts about that because
Tons.
I do because I mean I hear it all the time, like every week, where a dentist is like, "Well, I'm just going to plug in an associate and then I'll just take some time off," and it's like that's not really how it works because you have to decide. And like Jeremy Mahoney, for example, like I talk to Jeremy all the time. He's one of my best friends, and you sort of I know I feel like every time I talk to him, and he wouldn't mind me saying this, but like just inevitably what happens is when someone doesn't buy in all the way or they just treat it like a job, like they come and go,
Yep.
and that's the price you pay. And so as a specialist, like we have to maintain relationships with referring offices. So if associates are coming and going, that is such it's a rough look. And then for a dental practice, it's the same thing where patients come to me and they're like, "Oh, I went to this practice and I saw the third doctor in my third visit," and they don't like that turnover. And so what you make in money, you pay for in stress and headache, I think, on an
True.
associate, like when you're making money on your associate, not to mention all the headaches that come with training, redos, stuff like that. And so, yeah, I think I totally see both sides of it. And the doctor that Nate and I both work for, he's got like 4 associates now and he's crushing it. So like, good for him, like he's doing really, really well. Me and Nate are like best friends and we have this relationship that like, we'll be friends for life. Like he's like, he doesn't have any brothers. Like I'm like his brother. He's like my third brother, it's just, we just have this amazing relationship that I wouldn't trade for anything, and not all partnerships are that way. I think we've been super, super blessed and super lucky that way.
Agreed.
But when both partners are both givers and you both want to just work hard and you have their back no matter what, like you can find that, man, like whatever money you give up by being a partner, you'll get back in like that, just sitting down at the end of the day and having someone to talk to that you're equal and business plan with, to take risks with, to, even just to have like that comfort of talking to someone, like you get done with a tough day, just having that person there is priceless. I don't think you can put a price tag on that. So I wouldn't give up my partnership with Nate for anything, yeah. And I think that's quite unique. Like in our DSO, like no one really knows, like we have like 400 partners, I think now. And like when they think of Nate, they think of Hunter, or when they think of Hunter, they think about Nate. Like we're just known, like you usually don't see one without the other. So to the doctors out there that own, if you can find someone like that or someone even remotely close, like, man, and someone that's going to stay long term, like you eliminate so much stress and so many headaches by being open to having a partner. And then if you have associates that might come and go, and you have the space and the availability and you want to do that, that's an option. But if you feel like you're drowning and you can find someone that's a really good business partner, I definitely see the value. Because Nate and I, we spent the better part of 2 years looking for associates to work for us. And again, it's that whole thing of like, well, man, I don't think they're going to have the personality that we need. But then you interview the really good ones. You're like, well, they're going to want to be a partner, so we can't hire them. So you're just always playing that game of like, there is no perfect answer. You don't have like a unicorn associate that's just, and maybe there are a few where they just are just a total 10 out of 10, but then they just don't want to own. They just want to show up. So
Totally. And some will.
it's pretty rare.
It
They
is.
will. Yeah.
But okay, that actually led me to my next point I wanted to dig into, because partnerships, some are magical like you guys have, and others sink ships. So I want to hear, how did you get into the partnership? Like what does that look like? How much did you both bring? Like, as much as you want to get into the nitty gritty with me, because I think partnerships are so challenging to do well, and to hear that you and Nate have a great thing. So I'm almost like, okay, there were some tips about associateships and bring us, and I agree, like lock them down, like have these people with you. They're going to grow your business. I could not do what Dental Team does without incredible consultants. And while none of them are partners per se, a lot of them, I've given them opportunities to do different pieces. Tiff from the get-go, we talked about it. I offered her to be a partner and she's like, heck no, I want nothing to do with that, but give me my time and give me my life with my child, and girl, I'm with you forever. So agreed, there are different things, but I mean, did I give up money when I first brought in all these other consultants to help out? The answer is yes. But I look at it now and it actually like makes me so giddy to see there are so many practices we're impacting that me as a solo person could not serve at that level. So that's, I think, the beauty of like, yes, there's a dip, but there's also growth and serving that you can do at a higher level. So with that said, on associates, now we're moving into partnerships. Walk me through, Hunter. I want to know the like ins, outs, good, bad, like partnerships. I'm sure you guys have had some knockout dragouts. I'm sure you guys have had highs and lows in partnerships. I'm sure you've but I'm curious, like, how did you guys structure it to make it great for both of you? And then I'm going to go into DSO. So I want to know partnership though, because like, it's my buffet. I'm choosing an associate, now buying and being partners, and then DSO.
Yeah, for sure. I think the key was, for me and Nate, like we're both givers. And so, we never have fought over money. Like, there's just never, we've just been lucky to not have that. We're very similar because we kind of cut our teeth in the same practice. We had the same philosophy too. Like just, we're very, very efficient. We both work super, super hard. Mm-hmm. And so we're both hard drivers that way. We're both very perfectionistic. Like we both do the same type of root canals. Like we kind of have the same treatment philosophy, and granted, he's 7 years older than me. So like Nate, I have to give him a ton of credit because he's just been super helpful clinically. And like, I felt like after years, like I wasn't at my prime for sure, but like I was cooking. I was doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. And he helped bring me up to where I am now. I've been here like 7 years now, but like that first year, like he still just helped me, deal with some of the tougher cases. Naples is just a place of tough cases.
Right.
But it's old people, retired, calcified, whatever stuff from Europe. That's like totally crazy. But he was just so patient and so just, man, he was just so happy to have me here because he was burned out. Like he was so tired. And so he was just grateful I was here. He always told me that. The way we structured it, so I worked for him for a year and I was supposed to buy in after the first year, but COVID had hit. And so banks weren't like, they were like, hold on, chill out. Like it was literally like March I was supposed to buy in. Oh. And so like, we were like, me and him were like alternating days and like, like sharing N95s because that's all we had. And I mean, that's a whole nother thing. So that delayed the buy-in like 6 months. And during that time,
when you moved out there, was it part of your contract and agreement that you were going to buy in a year? Was it 50-50? Yeah. Were those things like in place? Were those like in your contract?
It was all agreed to.
Okay.
And I actually don't know if it was in. So the thing was like, when I was in Prescott, I went to the same church that Nate had gone to. Like I went to the same congregation. So everybody that knew him just absolutely loved him. Like he was like the cream of the crop. Everybody was just like, like I felt like I was partnering with like, just this completely amazing
Michael
person.
Jordan
he is. So I had no doubts. Yeah, it was like the Michael Jordan, like I don't even know like analogy. It would be like Muhammad Gandhi. Like he was like just such this, just a good dude, And so I didn't have a lot of reservations as far as our agreements go. And then just again, maybe not the smartest thing, but like I don't know. It may have been in the writing, but I don't really remember. And I wasn't that worried about it because I guess naively I trusted him and just felt like it would work out. But this was all verbally agreed to.
Like some people It's the
He
verbal
would have been
agreement.
willing to.
I'm sure.
He would have
But
been willing to, and maybe it was like it might have been in our first contract. I had David Cohen write it up. I'd have to go back and look, but he did our partnership agreement too. He's awesome for anybody that needs an attorney.
we
But
do love David Cohen. We refer to
yeah,
him quite a lot.
I've sent him a ton of people. So but that was the thing. Like we had all that agreed to, and then the other conversation that I know a lot of people don't have, and a lot of people hold resentment about, is how you're going to split profits. And so we
Totally.
decided early on, it's like eat what you kill. Like if you do, so the way I did it, we sort of calculated a rough guesstimation of what our overhead was, and then we gave ourselves like we would do. Okay, you get this percentage. We each get this percentage of our production. And then let's say it was like 45, 55, then we split the profits that same way. Whatever's left over, we're going to split by that same amount. And frankly,
By the
like I
amount
don't
that
think
you
we were
produced.
ever
Is that correct?
correct
So,
collective.
okay.
Well, we're fever like our collection is same as product. Like we're so it's the
Right.
same number. But
So sorry, let me back this up. So you guys go
yeah,
produce, and let's just use numbers. Usually in GP, it's 30% of what you produce. Usually in specialty, you're like 45% of what you produce. So like, let's just use some like loose numbers. Hypothetical.
sure.
Nate, you produce, you're welcome. We've got this. So let's just say you produce 100 grand in a month. Nate produces 100 grand in a month. Let's say you guys are both taking 30%. You're specialists. So giggle at me because I know you're not 30%. You both would be taking 30 grand of that,
Yeah.
leaving.
Yep.
We've got 70 from each of you, but we have overhead in
Yep.
that as well. So we've got to take our
Yep.
overhead out of there. So we've got 70, 70 hypothetical. We're going to take, let's leave at the end. There's
Say 50.
60,000
Yeah.
of profit at the end of it after you guys have produced 200,000, collected 200,000. You both have been paid your 30,000 each. Of that 60,000, how was that split? Was that a 50-50 split, or was it based on like, let's say you produced 100 grand, but Nate produced 200 grand? Did the 60,000 at the end get split based on production amounts, or was that like, how
Correct.
was the profit split?
Yeah. So we would just split the profit exactly like you described in the latter example, where it's based on what you produced that month or collected that month, then we would split the profits that month. And I just had a spreadsheet. I did all the math. And so we would just work it out between the two of us.
Nice.
And we never had an issue. Like I would just plug it and just plug and chug, and it was never an issue. And truly, like we were never more than like 52-48. That might have been like I don't remember a month ever being off by more than 2% or 4%. So it really wasn't a big battle. And one thing too that I told Nate going into this, and this was for me, I had to just like, I was president of like my business school, like my junior year, president of the whole business school, like or vice president of the whole business school, my senior year. Like I was used to being in leadership positions. I was used to sort of being in charge. Like I kind of, but I knew coming here, he was there first. And I told him, I was like, I know you're going to be the alpha. Like all the referrals know you. I'm just going to have to take that backseat role. And I think me just acknowledging that and accepting that was so important because I had no ego. Like I didn't have to prove that there was no competition between me and Nate. We were 100% on the same team. Again, and maybe that's unique to a specialty practice because you're kind of working together, maybe more than you would in a GP office. I don't know. Where maybe you're competing for patients a little more. I'm not sure. I've never worked in a GP office, but the dynamics for us is like there's like all the referrals. It doesn't matter which doctor you want. Like you're getting your next available doctor, unless there's a few exceptions. So we were very good about having no egos, and that was really important to our partnership too. But financially, it was quite easy for us and convenient just because our numbers were pretty similar. Or if he took a couple weeks off, then obviously he'll still get his collections from that month, but then I would get a little bit bigger chunk of the profit. But then when I took my time off the next month, it would just work itself out. And so, and he was always, like I said, he was always at the end of the year, Nate always produces just a little more than me. And I was just okay with it. I was like, whatever, And this, I think, is the dessert that we can talk about later because how do we measure success? How do we measure fulfillment? And when we tie it to profits and numbers and income, it's just not super healthy. And I've had to learn that. Like that's probably been one of my biggest paradigm shifts over the last year and a half, and sparked by your presentation and the conversations that we had. So,
well, that's fascinating to me, and thank you. That's a huge compliment. I'm fascinated by that partnership split and the fact that you both were eat what you kill. I actually love that because then you've got two very motivated partners. Also, you don't accidentally get one partner who's not pulling their weight. I know a lot of times And I think the difference that I sometimes see in GP versus specialty is sometimes I have a super producer in GP. So one who's doing high bridge and implants and all these different cases. And then I've got another doctor who's doing bread and butter. Well, obviously the super producer is going to produce more, but you need the bread and butter dentist to be taking care of all those prophy patients and all the day in, day out so you can super produce. So those ones I often will see that it's more going to be a 50-50 split, but I do oftentimes see the super producer gets a little annoyed because they're like, if they're not both givers, I've seen this wax hard on partnerships just in the fact of you look at the numbers and what are you putting up on the board. But I think those partners really have to look at this. It's the ultimate whole. And if the ultimate whole of the business is doing well, both parties are winning. And they have to just see that they bring different strengths to the table, just like in a marriage. And we're not looking at dollars on the board. We're looking at collective as a practice. But that is one where I do watch. And so I do think in specialty, that might be something I had not thought of. But I love to hear how you guys broke it down, how you picked it apart, and also the fact that there was no ego on taking a patient. Because I do sometimes see that in partnerships where, well, if I'm going to get what I kill, I want more of these patients. I want to take them on because that's going to impact my production. But at the end of the day, you guys are still doing well on the profit side. So fascinating to me to hear how it was set up, how you guys got into it, how the buy-in was, and then moving forward. And I'm guessing, Hunter, I don't know Nate, but I'm excited. I mean, I have a quote over here by Gandhi. So when you said that, I was like, well, perfect. But my hunch is typically in a partnership, I see someone who's like yourself, who's really big into business. Like they know the numbers, they have the business acumen. And usually the other partner tends to be more of the people side or the, like you usually have a separation. So I don't know Nate, but my guess would be not to say that you're not great with team members too, but I'm guessing you're very business savvy, you're very system savvy, and he's going to be more people savvy and relationship savvy. Again, I don't know, maybe both of you had that, but I'm curious, did you see that dynamic in your partnership that maybe blended you guys really well coming together?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and we do complement it. You're pretty much spot on. I would say Nate definitely like is a lot more of a calming. I'm kind of like people tell me I'm just fiery. Like
I
we've
do
we've
remember
had
you
different.
walking up. You wouldn't even shut your light off on me. Like you were busy. You were down to
Yeah,
business. Like, Kiera, I need these things in the
I'm
most respectful way.
pretty focused. Yeah, pretty focused, I would say. And so I would say there is that little bit of balance. But Nate's not a dummy. Like he was Harvard #2 in his class at Harvard. Like he's super smart, and so he would always lean into me for the business stuff just because I had a degree and I could speak the language in accounting and
Sure.
depreciation and all, like that stuff I think sort of intimidated him more than it needed to because once you explain it, he'd be like, oh yeah, but
Right.
because he hadn't trained that way, like he would sort of lean into me in that stuff. But even having someone to talk about because he'd already dealt with the accountant, he already dealt with workers' comp. So I'd be like, hey, how does this work? Because I'd never done
Mm-hmm.
it. So he'd explain it to me. And then as a team, we would work it out. As a team, we would make big decisions. So yeah, I mean, you'll both bring different things to the table. And it's actually good that you can be different. I had another opportunity to partner somewhere else before Nate. I was way too much like that guy. I was like,
Yes.
this isn't going to work. I knew right away. Like I sent, I went and visited the practice, did the whole thing, sent like a follow up email. And I think we both knew it's just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And
Mm-hmm.
the negotiations didn't go very far. And it was fine. It was, and like, we're still friends and
Yeah.
we keep in touch. So I think it's important to like, you think, oh, we're so alike. Man, that's not
No.
always like the best thing. And so our differences are actually probably what bring us together and make us strong. Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's a super fair point about that. And again, a lot of it's just been serendipitous, like that just happened to fall into place. It's just worked out that way. But it's like a marriage. That's the perfect thing. It's like a marriage without all the benefits per se. Like you just
You
you're
get
just
the
like you
profit
just get the hard
benefits.
part of
I
the
don't
yeah you just get the hard you get the hard part of the marriage where you have tough conversations. But again, you just take them head on. And when you have no ego and or a limited ego, and when you just want your partner to succeed, like you can't really fail, in my
That's
opinion.
awesome.
And even when it came to like negotiate, like I had 6 months of partnership income that I was missing out on. But then there's the COVID thing, and at the end of the day, I said, Nate, like, what number? Like, what do you want? We did the whole valuation. I didn't really care. I was willing to pay whatever. I didn't. To me, the relationship was way more important than any number, and so we just came to a number that we both felt good about based on the valuation. But I was flexible, and frankly, I didn't care because it was so important to me.
Yeah.
Um, and we came to what we thought both was fair, and it's been a dream. Like, you know, and those, we're like best friends, and those conversations can still be a little awkward and a little hard, but they don't have to be. And they were always fine, you know.
Right.
If there's a book I could recommend, I talk about it all the time. It's Crucial Conversations.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite books of all time. I think everybody should read it before you get married. You should read it like in college. Like, I think it should be required reading before you graduate college. But
Definitely
that's
agree.
one book that's just helped me a ton as a leader, business owner, as a partner, husband. It's just helped me a ton. So
I love that. I also love that you guys just, I think when you said like it just works and it was serendipitous, I think that's something to look for in a partnership. I think if anybody's looking at partners, if it's hard and it's just not flowing, don't force it to work.
mm,
The best partnerships I really do see where they kind of fall into place this way, they're aligned. You hire people that are complementary to you, not just like you, because you do need the two halves to a whole to make it really great. And then I think you guys have done a good job of keeping egos in check. I think you guys, what you said, Hunter, that I hope all partners listening to this or potential partners, you want your partner to succeed. And that's your ultimate goal. And that's what you're driving for. And when Jason and I learned that in our marriage, where like my greatest success is Jason's success, it went from a like, what are you giving for me? And what am I getting out of this relationship to a like, I want Jason to give me 5 stars because he's a raving fan because like I'm doing all that I possibly can to make sure he's succeeding and his life is incredible. And when both partners are in that, it goes away from you and it goes to them and to make sure that they're succeeding. And I really do see that that works great in marriages, partnerships. So I'm obsessed with that. Kudos to you guys on that. I love that also, Hunter. I hope people buying in the partnership and having that. I say the way you start a partnership is how you're going to end the partnership. I love, Hunter, that you came in as the quote unquote junior partner, but you leveled yourself up to be an equal partner to him. And I'm really proud of you because I think a lot of associates are stay very timid. They stay very junior. They act
yeah,
like they don't know anything rather than being like an equal partner. And I'm like, no, no, no. If you're going to be a
totally.
partner in this, you need to be a partner and bring your weight. So kudos to you on that. And then I also just really love that you guys have just had multiple conversations that you just have blended it so beautifully and that you said you were willing to pay whatever he wanted. Like, of course, you're going to be fair. You knew the numbers, but the partnership and the success was more important to you. And I think when you go into it and that's how you start your partnership, I can tell why you guys are actually really great partners. So great job. And thanks for highlighting that. And now I want to know about selling to a DSO because I do agree. Um, Having a consultant oftentimes makes it to where you don't have to sell to a DSO. And we do that sometimes. Sometimes I'll grow the practices for you. And it's like, well, why would you sell to a DSO when they're just going to come in and grow your business anyway? Like, let's do this on your
Yeah.
own. I had a doctor who we were chatting and he's like, yeah, Kiera, they're going to give me 5 mil for it. And I said, cool. Next year, you're probably going to do 5 million on your own or within 2 years. So you
Yeah.
can pay them out and they're just going to do what you were already going to do. And agreed, a lot of that stress comes from that. But Hunter, you said something in the very beginning that struck me when you said you sold to the DSO. You said your life has exponentially gotten better. Your work-life balance has gotten better since selling to the DSO. But you also said that you're doing pretty much all the same things you were doing as a business owner. So I'm super curious, how did your life get better while you're still doing, like you were like, I'm still hiring, I'm still firing. And I was like,
Yeah.
so what was the perk of selling to a DSO and help me understand how your life got better? And then I also want to know about your sell deal too, if you're open to that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't, I probably should have illustrated the point that it's not like we didn't just get overwhelmed and all of a sudden decide, okay, we're just going to throw up our hands and sell. Like, we had hired a different office manager who was like, went through like Gary Caddis's training. Like she was phenomenal. She was amazing. In fact, like she was a lot like you in a lot of ways, just really great personality, new dentistry. And I thought she was going to change our lives, you know, and she is awesome. Like, she's an amazing person, but it didn't end up working out. She left the practice that was being transitioned to a new doctor. So she came with us for a few weeks and it was going okay. And then they had a big crisis back there. And she's like, is it okay if I just go back and help for like a week? And we're like, yeah, do what you need to do, you know? And then that doctor offered her equity in his practice. And so she ended up staying
I
there, which,
mean, good deal.
whatever. Yeah, whatever. Like, it is what it is. And so my point is like, I feel like we tried a different office manager. We tried restructuring, and we tried. The only thing, we didn't hire a consultant. We definitely talked about it, but we didn't. I think in some ways I was probably just a weak leader in that way, where I was maybe a little bit too proud to just get the help that we probably needed. and instead just went a different route, you know? And so hindsight's always 2020,
Of course.
but that just to create a little bit of the background to the story though. So it's not like we just, you know, all of a sudden decided, you know, we're going to just sell. So we had done all this other footwork. Um, Sorry, what did you want to know about like the structure of the deal or what?
I do. I do want to know the structure
Yeah,
of the
okay.
deal. Yeah, tell me it.
So when we, you know, after having done all this, we had interviewed all these doctors. We had one kind of in the holster, maybe going to associate, and we were just like, we were interviewing people, but we was just so we were just tired. It's just like when you're
Yeah.
doing root canals, like from like 7 to 5, and you don't even have time to use like the bathroom, like get a drink of water. It's just
Yep.
we just burned ourselves out because we were chasing something, and I don't even think we just wanted to change growth. Like we just wanted to grow. We just always said all the time, we just grow, 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 grow. And so we just kept the pedal to the metal. Excuse me. And I would say we just sort of outgrew ourselves. And not that the wheels ever fell off, but like the culture in our practice was okay. Like we had good people, but we did have some of the wrong people on the bus. And so when we started talking to DSOs, they saw our numbers, they saw our trajectory, and we knew we had a lot of leverage. It was 2021, so the market was just red
I
hot.
see. That is
We
hot.
got a really good evaluation. We got a really good multiple. Like they were, you know, and so, you know, I actually talked to Matt Molcock, you know, he's my advisor. Um, and just, I talked to my mentors, Dr. Johns, like, you know,
Oh,
just
Dr.
people that I
Johns.
really respect. He's the man. He had started nine different
Oh,
endo or worked in or started 9 different practices. And his advice to me was like, you know, like I would do it if I were you. And so a lot of people just had kind of encouraged me. And so at that point, me and Nate said, you know, we got opinions both ways. And at the end of the day, our conclusion was it doesn't matter. Like if I'm being honest, like
agreed.
that was kind of our answer to a kind of a joint prayer was like, it's not going to matter. Like it doesn't matter which way you go with this. Like for the things that are truly important, it's not going to matter what you do. And so we decided to do the deal. And I will say, like I said, the first 6 months were rough. But to the credit of my company, like the group that I'm with, like our E team and the people that we work with, they're phenomenal. Like I've never like had they've just always bent over backward to accommodate us and help us. And we've done our part. We've grown like crazy, you know? Are there times where I'm like, man, we could have done this on our own and our whatever, you know, and you look at your paycheck now because now I'm paid on a percentage and I have equity in the company. And so you're just waiting on a recap. And that's a whole, again, talking about, we can get
Yep.
into this too, is DSOs have so many different types of structures. Ours is not like a joint venture. So we don't profit share in ours. It's all in our equity. And so equity events are like super important for us.
They are.
Um, and so Scotty Hudsmith is our CEO, and he's the one that did Smile Docs. So he's done it 3 times. So he came to our dinner like the night that they were recruiting us, and he wasn't officially the CEO yet, but like he was sliding in that role. It just hadn't been announced. I think it was like the next week or something. But he came and he just sort of created the vision for us, and we just honestly we a little bit of the feeling and sort of that answer of like it's not going to matter. And now looking back, are there days where I've resented like seeing what I produce versus what I take home? Sometimes, but I've got to
Sure.
remember they give you 5 or 6 years of your profitability up front, and I've been able to put all that to work. You know, for the most part, I've done pretty well with that. Like not like home run, like you know, it's not like crazy stuff, but it's
Sure.
fine. I'm diversified now. It's not all in my practice, but I do have
Right.
a bit still in equity, quite a bit. So we did a 70-30 split. We did 70% cash, 30% equity in the group.
Nice.
Um, and I just, some groups will give you flexibility, some won't. That's just the number that we wanted and they agreed to. And looking back, I'm still glad I did it that way. I actually had an opportunity to buy more equity about a year in, which I did. And so I bought more. And so that allowed me to just be a little bit more leveraged into the company on a bigger scale. Like me and Nate work real hard for each other, but now you just got all these partners that are counting on you. And I think the mojo and the culture in our group is quite good. So
Yeah, that's it. That's actually really, really good to know because I think so many people wonder about DSOs. And so what did the DSO take off of you guys? Because I know
yeah,
there's some people that get
that's what you
scared of the
asked.
equity. Like they get scared of equity because some DSOs have actually gone under. And so
Yeah,
I actually love to hear that you were a 70-30 split. And then you were able to buy in more if you wanted to, because if it goes under, that is your retirement. And so I love that you were able to put money into work. So your retirement's not solely like vested into this
totally.
company. I really am big on that when DSOs do purchase. But what did they take off your guys' plates going in as a DSO?
Yeah, sorry, that's what you asked me, and I kind of
That's
got off
okay.
track there.
I
But
wanted the deal. I wanted the deal. I actually wanted to know that a
so
lot.
we skipped
So
to the deal. But going back, like the thing that they've helped with the most, I would say, is like, just as an example, there's like this employment tax, that we'd always get these letters about every year with Florida, and we'd call them, and then I spend an hour on the phone finally getting to someone, and then I had already canceled it, but then they automatically renewed it and so it's just like that's like one example. Workman's comp. Um, Even just like we had an office book for like policy. And again, this might speak more to maybe my lack of strong leadership, where when a team member says, well, I understand that's the policy, but this is what I have going on. And then when you bend the rules for one person, then it sort of just
sure.
creates this culture of favoritism. And again, that was probably partly being a new owner and then a people pleaser. And something I've worked on a lot. And
Yeah,
again, I'm not the same leader I was even 5 years ago, 4 years ago
totally.
when we sold. But having seen that now, because there are just company policies in place, and again, it might be a little maybe feel corporate, but now you sort of see the reason why things are corporate, because otherwise people, if you run it like a small business and you do those little things here or there, all it does
Totally.
is create resentment within your team. And so um, I will say, just having we've gone through, like, man, we hired like 2 or 3 different office managers through the company that they helped us hire. And finally we hired internally, and oh man, she's phenomenal.
Amazing.
Like, she was at our front desk she wasn't in dentistry. She came to the front desk, and really for the first couple of years, she was pretty quiet. And then when we interviewed, we're like, we need to are you interested? And she said, yeah, like I would. And she's absolutely just crushing it. And so she is a big reason, because we finally, like, it's just a good fit for her, and our old
Mhm.
office manager is still with us, and she's amazing. She's amazing. And she's
Yeah.
just so humbly taken the role. She's like, I just want to be in the front. And she's the
Mhm.
best front office person in the world. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And she didn't want to be an office manager. And so it's
totally.
kind of worked itself out. But I don't know if we would have made those decisions without being sort of forced into it with our structure in the corporate, in the corporate group, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Um, and there's a couple things, like we were salary, like we just paid our girls salary, for example. And so there was
Mhm.
always sort of this resentment, because here it's very seasonal. So during
Right.
winter, like our population in Naples doubles. And so the girls are working more hours. So they might work 42. I don't even know if I should say this. I guess it doesn't matter because I don't do it anymore, but they might work 42 or 44 hours one week. But in the summer,
Right.
they're probably working 32, 34, 36. Or I just say, hey, go home or whatever. So over the year, it
Right.
just worked out.
Mhm.
And that, and so they came to us, they're like, you can't do that. And so it's like, so then we had to switch to hourly, which I really resented. In that first 6 months, I was so mad. But now looking at it, it's actually the fair way to do it. It actually
It
makes
is.
sense.
So
And
it
they
sounds like
like
you just got a
we
lot of
always
like
get,
you got like a lot of company backing is what I feel like it is. Like
totally, it's
the
just more
structure of a
structured,
business.
more
Yeah.
structured. I didn't have to be the bad guy, I guess.
Mhm.
Like, I
Yep.
sort of get to say, that's just how we do it. And so again, I think now, like, the older version of Hunter sees that as, well, man, you could have been a stronger leader, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And
Totally.
but now again too, like, looking at it, like, this is exactly the path that I'm supposed to be on, and it's fine. Like, and truly, like, it, there's so many reasons to join a DSO. Some people are looking for an exit. Some people are looking for a lifestyle. And for me, it's just worked out that I don't know what I was looking for besides relief from all the pressure I felt. And it's worked out, and so I still make enough money that I can do the things that I need to do and want to do. And if the equity works out, that's a cherry on top. And if it doesn't, like, it's okay for right now. And if I want to do something later, I can do something
You
else,
can.
and that's the other thing too. Like with the DSO, is if you want to leave at some point, you can. And I don't really have plans to leave per se, but like, now it's an option. Whereas if I own the practice, that was one reason too with me and Nate, who part of our thought process was, well, we're from the West. In 10 years, if we want to sell in 10 years, who's going to buy us? Are we going to wait 10
Totally.
years? Why don't we just do it now and grow with the DSO? So that was a big part of it too, is like, what is our exit? And so even though I'm 40 next year, I still was sort of planning an exit at some point, because the practice was so big and we couldn't find a partner. So maybe
Totally.
that gives some insights retrospectively into our thought process, because we did the same conversation every day for 6 months. But looking at it now, like, that's what they've taken off our plate, is all those little nuances that are just so mentally exhausting, that now when I come home, I can just be present with my kids. I've changed my schedule. Like, it's totally benefited my life lifestyle wise, but it's not perfect, but I would say an overall net positive, if you're
That's
not just
amazing.
looking at money, if you're not just looking at
Sure.
your month to month income, I would say that's like the only downside is I don't make as much money as I used to, but my lifestyle is way better. So
And so we traded a few things, but who knows? It can pan out as well to where you actually make more
yeah,
in the future. That's not a
good.
given, but like today, you're at least in a good space. You've traded
Yeah.
like money for time, and I think that that's one of the most beautiful things, which ties to as we like quickly wrap up. I love that you just talked about all the pieces of DSO. I love that you have a great experience. I love hearing the pieces that they were able to take. And agreed, a lot of businesses actually need to sell to a DSO because they've grown too big that there's not a buyer for them. And like that
Yeah.
is, I think that's where a DSO actually becomes very paramount. And so I love that you guys knew your exit plan. I love that you knew where you wanted to go. And so Hunter, in our last like couple minutes together, I do want to hear about what you mentioned of the cherry, the dessert of you've done all these pieces. You were associate, you did partners, you did DSOs, and thank you for just being so open. I think it's so hard to get like, what are the true numbers? Like, how did your partnership work? Like, I just want to know the hows. Like, what did you do so I can build off of that? What is now when you talked about like redefining what success is? I just want you to like highlight that for just a second as we wrap up today, because this has been one of my favorite podcasts, one of my favorite humans to just hear your whole journey and now how you've kind of restructured from that money, the profitability, and that being your success guiding star to what you're currently at right now.
Yeah, I think one of the big moments for me at the end of the month, it was always fun. Like you just crush yourself during the day, and then you get to the end of the month, and we'd look at the bank account. I'd put it in the spreadsheet. Me and Nate take the deposit and do all this, and we would sit there and withdraw the money on our phones from Bank of America into our personal or into our own business accounts. And that feeling lasts. It's very fleeting. It's like you get that, you see that number, it feels really good, but then it goes away. And even when we got our check for our buyout, even when we got that big check, it's like it was really exciting, literally for like 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, I'm still the same exact person. Like I'm still doing all the same things. And so I just, as cliche as it sounds, I've just learned that money doesn't buy happiness. And I thought for those couple of years with Nate, while we were hustling and bustling, I was chasing a number, I think, and I don't even know what that number was. And um, hoping that at some point I would feel fulfilled.
Yep.
And when I got that money, I realized it didn't change a single thing. And so I had to start looking for other things. And I ran into, the first couple of years in the DSO were fine, but then coming to the Dentist Money Summit 2 years ago when you were there, and this was like, I was already thinking about getting into like a coaching program and whatever. And I was
Mm-hmm.
looking just to improve my life. Like I knew I needed something. I was just floundering. So I found, yeah, like an accountability group. I went with a men's group, and then now I'm with Richard Lowe in a
Yeah.
Next Level Fathers, and it's like just been. I found my purpose. I knew who I was. I know who I am as a person. I know who I am, but I was living below what I had to offer because I was chasing the wrong things. So now, even though I'm making less money, and this probably sounds like really foo-foo, like for
I
people
like
that
it.
just maybe haven't been through this yet, or people that are just making a ton of money and are super happy. I don't know, maybe you can have the best of both worlds. For me, I had to give up my time and energy to make the money, and that took away from my family. And so now that I have that balance, I'm more fulfilled, I'm more happy, I'm more satisfied in my marriage, I'm more content in every area of my life because I just started working on myself and I stopped chasing money. And it just like I think I feel I just see it differently now. I see things for what they are. I'm not chasing cars. I'm not chasing houses. I'm just totally content wearing my Apple Watch and like I don't need a Rolex. Like I just don't need that stuff. And I thought I did. And I could go into more details on some of that stuff too, but it's just that would be my biggest takeaway. That's been the dessert, is to give up the things that don't matter for the things that do. And it comes with sacrifice, and it comes with a little bit of suffering, a little bit of pain, a little bit of resetting. But it's all required. And in the end, it's all really beautiful. And it's just like, it's a journey, right? It's just like, there is no mountaintop. Um, there's always another mountain. There's always another hill to climb. And that journey up the hill is really where the beauty is. That's really where the growth happens, and where you're fulfilled is when you're doing hard things. And it's definitely not, money is just one measurement of that, but the money is not what brings the happiness. So that's been my biggest learning thing. And learning experience or learning lesson learned. But again, I have to thank you. I'll do it on the podcast because I know I texted you, but I still remember where we were standing in the back of the room. I said, Kiera, like,
Yep.
think about doing a coach, and you're like, stop thinking about it, just do it. You're like, just do it. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right. I was like, and I left that meeting on such a high of like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna find this next version of myself, and I keep rediscovering that person, which is it's been phenomenal. It's been so good.
I'm so proud of you. And thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I was just the person you were just ready for it at that time. And I think that that's magic that way. What I love so much is I feel like Hunter, at such a young age, you found yourself. You found what fulfills you. I think that that is such a beautiful thing. I just did a podcast, a couple of weeks ago called The Empty Millionaire. And wherein like people hit that million mark and they just are like you said, like you get the money and it's like, this is it. Like, this is what I've been chasing. And you realize that there's so much more to life than that. Not to say that money and metrics and all of that are not a worthwhile thing to go after. Everyone's at their own place in their journey. But what I love is you really were able to give us the buffet of dentistry today and to show us where the contentment came for you and how you're able to navigate that journey. And I'm just so proud of you, like genuinely proud of you, and just like all the happiness of, I'm so excited to see that in your 30s, you've discovered Hunter here, and the person you become will influence and impact for many, many more years beyond just dentistry. And I think that that's the beautiful journey that you've been on, which is why I wanted you on the podcast. Yes, to be like showcase somebody that I just think is incredible, but to also show the impact and influence that you can have for other people. So I really hope listeners today took from wherever you are on the journey. I think, Hunter, you really truly have gone through such a beautiful journey to get here. And thank you for being open. Thank you for sharing all the metrics, the numbers, your life. And I'm just so happy for you. Like, everybody in my opinion deserves happiness, fulfillment, joy. And to see that you have achieved that. Like, I remember talking to you 2 years ago and you were just like, it was a frenzy. It was kind of like, I just don't know. And to see the more confident, centered Hunter, I know there'll be more peaks, there'll be more valleys in your journey. But I think the centeredness, the confidence in you, I feel like before you're like, I knew who I was. I feel like today Hunter 2.0 has been created to where that certainty is there that will never leave you. So any last thoughts you want to have today? Thank you for being on this. Thank you for all the things. Any last thoughts as we wrap up today?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I just want to express gratitude. I don't want to come off like I've got it all figured out, because I certainly don't. But just recognizing and realizing that fact that there are going to be more valleys. And I will say, like, that could be a whole podcast on its own, but I've had some really, really low valleys, as I know you've shared with me too. But those are what make us who we are. And so for anybody that's, I guess I would say, like, struggling, if you're trying to figure things out, just ask for help. There are so many resources now of people that are willing to mentor and help and encourage. With so much negativity, like on social media, and so much comparison, I just feel like it feeds this ego, and it's just not healthy. We just need to, as a profession, as dentists, what we do is so hard. It's so stressful, and only we can relate to what we're doing. No one else can understand unless you have a spouse that's a dentist or in the profession, which some of us do. And even then, it can be tough. So I would just give people that are struggling just words of encouragement that there's hope. There's brighter things, and ultimately just do your best. The money doesn't matter. And I say that with some sensitivity, because I know that there are people that are just feeling really heavy things in their practices. Kiera, I know you've seen it, like, genuinely struggling financially, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. It's so common in our profession. So if you're struggling, I would just encourage people to find resources, because there's tons out there. And I'm happy to have conversations with anybody if I can be of help to anybody that, is struggling or wants to talk about the DSO thing and more details. Reach out to Kiera. You can get a hold of me or whatever. But just thank you for having me, and thank you for sparking that light in me. That it's, like I said, not to be too dramatic, but like, my life has changed a ton in the last year and a half, and I couldn't be more grateful.
I'm so proud of you. And thank you for that. And agreed, reach out. Like, this is why, don't do it alone. Like, we don't have to do this alone anymore. Like we've evolved. And I think, like you said, Hunter, get the group. If it can be through a consulting group, like we're big on life and business. Like what you just said, Hunter, is why the reason I brought you on is because what you told me in that text is what I hope to achieve for our clients and for dentists listening to the podcast. Because to me, that's ultimate fulfillment. That's ultimate success. Like that is what we're striving for. And sometimes it gets masked by the money, the profit, the team, the outward expression of success rather than the inward expression of true success. And so thank you for being here. For all of you listening, reach out to Hunter, reach out to us. If we can help in any way, hello@thedentally.team.com. Hunter is one of the most genuine, incredible humans you will ever meet. And to be surrounded by people like him, I think is a beautiful thing you can give to yourself. So Hunter, thanks again for being here. Just so proud of you. I really am so proud of what you've done and who you've become and doing the hard work to get to where you are. So proud of you. Thanks for being on here today.
This was super fun. Thanks.
Of course. And for all of you listening, thank you for listening. And I'll catch you next time on the Dentally Team podcast.